Christ is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For in him all things in heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible. My brothers and sisters, Paul gives us these beautiful words as he writes to the Colossians. Today we celebrate the feast of Christ, the King of the universe. Several years ago, when I was working as a missionary in Mongolia, one of the priests was telling us a story about one of the women who had recently become baptized. And she had kind of waddled in to the chapel. She sat down. She was very broken. She had rickets. She was covered in soot. It was a quite tragic situation in her life. But when she sat down and she looked over the altar, we had this beautiful crucifix that was made by a Mongolian. So she looked at him and she said, "He understands me. We understand each other." See, this woman was born and raised in Mongolia, and for them, the symbol of power is Genghis Khan, right? He was the warrior. He killed millions and millions of people in order to spread his dominion throughout the world. So you see this man, but then you look at Christ, and Christ is naked and wounded, nailed to the cross, right? And that's where Jesus' power comes from, his authority. The greatest act that Jesus did for us is by dying on the cross, when he empties himself of his divinity for our salvation. We have the whole idea of religion wrong very often. We think that religion is something that's meant to overwhelm or to overpower us, right? To dominate the world. This is what at least a lot of atheists believe, and not atheists as well. I myself believe that as a former atheist. The reality is that true religion, to follow God, to recognize that Jesus himself is God in the flesh, is totally other. It's to recognize that God in his goodness and his love for us, he takes on human flesh, the weakness of human flesh, so that he, who is the creator of all things, right, he comes to save and to redeem us and to make something new, something that is beautiful for the world. And this is why we have Christ as our Savior. This is why we can thank him, and this is why everything that is created that we can see and we cannot see, as Paul says in his letter to the Colossians, is a reminder that all of us, all of history, whether we like it or not, all of us are going towards the completion of time, and all of it will be fulfilled in Jesus. And isn't it good to know that if you already belong to him, that so long as that you're not resisting his will, that this whole process of transformation is taking place within you, it's taking place within this parish, it's taking place within the universal church. So we ask the Lord for the grace to be able to recognize that he's not only the King of the universe, which he is, but more importantly, that he becomes the King of our hearts and the King of our lives. If Jesus is in the center of our lives, no matter what happens on the outside, there will always be peace, there will always be joy, and there will always be hope, and there will always be love. God bless you, and see you at Mass this weekend.